and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of Africa Today, where we get you the latest news and events taking place on the African scene. And we will start off with our major top stories and reports. The United Nations offers mediation to put Libya back on the path to elections. Let's have a look at this report.
The United Nations top official in Libya offered to mediate between political rivals a renewed push for long-delayed elections, warning against escalation after a parallel government took office. Stephanie Williams' call came a day after the country's eastern-based parliament swore in a prime minister in a challenge to interim premier Abdelhamid Dbeibeh, a move observers fear could tip Libya into a new schism. Williams, United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres' special advisor in Libya, warned in a series of tweets that the solution to Libya's crisis does not lie in forming rival administrations and perennial transitions. She said that she had asked the Eastern-based House of Representatives and the High Council of State, an upper house based in Tripoli, to nominate 6 delegates each to form a joint committee dedicated to developing a consensual constitutional basis that had dashed hopes of drawing a line under a decade of conflict since the 2011 revolution that toppled dictator Muammar al-Qaddafi. The country endured 2 rival governments from 2014 to early 2021, when the Dbeibeh administration was approved by key factions following a ceasefire late the previous year. Britain, France, Germany, Italy and the United States voiced concern at the latest developments, including reports of violence, threats of violence, intimidation and kidnappings.
Welcome back. And how will the Russia-Ukraine war affect Africa and soaring prices? With Russia a major producer of commodities such as oil, gas, aluminium and palladium, now surging commodity prices will create winners and losers across Africa and the world. Let's have a look at this report.
According to a report, the Ukrainian war is likely to hurt Africa's coronavirus-ravaged and fragile economies through fiscal constraints, weaker investment flows and higher commodity costs. The most pronounced challenge will be the surge in prices, particularly of oil and wheat, as these will have implications for inflation, current account and budget balances. Crude has surged by more than a fifth since the start of the war, to a 2008 high, almost $120. Wheat prices extended their meteoric rally, soaring 50% in the past month to the highest level in 14 years, as shipments from one of the world's biggest growing areas ground to a virtual standstill. The war and sweeping sanctions on Russia have upended Black Sea supplies at a time when global stockpiles are already tight. Ukraine and Russia ship more than a quarter of the world's wheat exports, and their fighting has closed ports and halted transport.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and moving on to Ethiopia. New report says Ethiopia could face famine. Refugees International, a global organization advocating for displaced and stateless people, said in a report released March 3rd that the humanitarian situation in Tigray was abysmal, with atrocities similar to war crimes displacing at least 2.5 million people. More details.
As officials in Tigray continue to call for meaningful peace talks and an end to atrocities and humanitarian aid blockade, an international refugees organization is warning that Eritrean refugees in the northern region have nowhere to run. Refugees International, a global organization advocating for displaced and stateless people, said in a report released March the 3rd that the humanitarian situation in Tigray was abysmal and atrocities similar to war crimes displacing at least 2.5 million people inside and out of the country. With starvation death mounting each day, she said in the report, and nearly 900,000 people in famine conditions, there are fears that the current situation in Ethiopia will mirror the Great Famine of the 1980s, when more than 1 million people died of starvation. According to the report, among the vulnerable groups, Eritrean refugees in Ethiopia were receiving little attention to support, despite facing unique risks. In early 2021, 2 Eritrean refugees camps in Tigray were destroyed, alleged by Eritrean troops, leaving approximately 20,000 Eritrean refugees missing. In January, refugees were killed by airstrikes that hit refugee camps. In a raft of measures, Refugees International wants the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to reconsider moving the refugees to new camps near active war zones. It also suggests quick resettlements of the refugees and neighboring countries, including Kenya and Sudan, to open their doors to them.
Welcome back, and talking about investment destinations in Africa, we're glad to be joined over the phone by Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former assistant to the foreign minister, who will shed more light on investment destinations in Africa. Good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon, how are you?
How are you, sir? Ambassador Bayoumi, the Business Insider and the American online platform nominated Egypt in its list of the top 10 investment destinations in the African continent, as Egypt as one of the top 10. How do you see this?
Good news. I am happy, but I'm not surprised, because really we are dealing with a serious economic reform program, which we took it seriously since November 2016.
Yes.
And thank God that this helped us to face the corona epidemic and its economic impact also. So if you look around Egypt and around the region, you will find that we are in a much better situation than others.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we are not at the best of what we aim, but at least we are doing our best, and we are ahead in Africa. We are ahead in the Arab world also, although the Arab world, after all, is a financer. The whole Arab world is investing $1.8 trillion abroad, and Egypt, according to the investment fund, which has its siege in Kuwait, Egypt is the most attractive country for investment in the Arab region also. Mm-hmm. So let us take this opportunity and work harder, because we need to work harder in order to face the challenges of increase in population. And our president just mentioned this seriously a couple of days ago. And in order to make our life better and better, because the good news that we are developing.
Yes.
The not good news that still the good distribution of our income is not in its good shape. Still there are people who cannot eat well or have good health care and so on. Mm-hmm. So we are working or fighting, as a matter of fact, on many dimensions, whether development, agriculture, industry, services, name it.
Yes. Well, the report said that Egypt's economic growth rate increased by 9.8% in the first quarter of the fiscal year 2021-2022. What are your expectations for the rest of the year?
This is very good also, but according to our Ministry of Planning, I think the average for the whole year will be around 6%, because this quarter of the year was lucky. Maybe we did well in some sector, the gas production and so on. Mm-hmm. But let us hope, you and me, that we reach 10% even annually in the near future, because we need to do this.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, the report also indicated that despite the economic repercussions of the coronavirus, Egypt's GDP achieved the growth in 2021 thanks to the country's enjoyment of a diversified economy. How do you think the economic reform program had its impact, positive impact on this?
This is very good, as a matter of fact, because if you look around us, in the Gulf, in Algeria and some other countries, they depend totally on the oil sector. Egypt is a highly diversified economy. We have agriculture, we have industry, we have the River Nile, we have the largest market in the Arab world, the most populated country. We have services also, starting by tourism, Suez Canal, and the transfers from Egyptians living abroad, and we should look positively to this element that our communities all over the world, 11 million Egyptians living abroad, they became one of the most important sources of foreign currency.
Yes.
We have to encourage this and to make their life easier. We pray God that our community in Ukraine come back safely also, because this is one challenge facing us for the foreign sector. Anyway, as you rightly said, that Egypt has many sectors which we depend on, and this makes our economy more solid. If you are affected in the oil sector, then tourism would cover. If you are affected in tourism, you are covered by Suez Canal or transfers from our communities abroad.
Yes. Well, do you agree that Africa is a promising market for Egypt in the current period?
It is, as a matter of fact, and Egypt is playing the role of a lawyer for Africa, since we have the African-European Conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, where we call on the developed countries and the rich countries to come to invest in Africa with the help of the Egyptian experience, which is much experienced than others. And you will know that the Egyptian face is the most accepted face in Africa. And we are there everywhere. And really, I admire what the presidency is doing. Our president covered Africa in few years, and now he is in a very good relations with all his partners. So
yes,
we can, of course, use Africa as our coming future for more investment abroad. But I must be honest to you and to the audience, saying that this needs a lot of homework. Africa needs much more better transport means, whether airway traffic or maritime traffic or road traffic. Africa needs much better banking system, and we are doing our best lately. You remember that we decided that Bank Masr will open some branches in some African countries.
yes.
We should continue this, because you cannot make trade or investment without the infrastructure which supports all of these efforts.
Yes. Do you consider the Egyptian market a window to Europe to access the African market?
Yes, and one of the ways we are marketing for Egypt, we are telling our partners in Europe, if you go and export to any African countries, you will pay taxes. I mean, but Egypt is in a position that we are exempted from tax revenues all over Africa, all over the Arab world, and all over the European Union. As a matter of fact, this is one very good point which we are marketing for our economy through it. That this is not the country of 100 million inhabitants. This is a market which is open to 2,000 million inhabitants in the Arab world, in Africa, and towards Europe also.
Yes. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant to the Foreign Minister. Many thanks for your insight. And dear viewers, that brings us to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more coming up here on Nile TV International.